So I've had the Samsung M8 for a little over 6 months now. I got it sometime back in May. And while it's not the best monitor I've used, it's become my favorite. And that was something I wasn't expecting going into this. So if you're thinking of picking this, I want to go over some of the things that you might like about it and some of the things that you may not. Let's discuss. So the first thing, how much is it? At the time I got this, it was going for about $8.99 Canadian, which is like $3 US, right? But I'm not going to be naive because there are actually good options like the LGs or the BenQs or MSIs. But let's talk about what we're getting here. This is a 32-inch 4K screen with about 137 points per square inch in terms of the pixel density. So it's not as clear as the Retina displays for the iMac, but it's definitely way clearer. You're gonna really notice the difference if you're coming from a 1080p monitor. Now, this is also a VA panel. So this means you're gonna get deep, vibrant colors. The downside is you're not getting great viewing angles. With this particular monitor, I did notice some color shift even looking directly straight at it. If you're used to like an IPS panel and you're sensitive to like color shifts, you may notice this, but I think over time you get used to it and it's not going to bother you as much. Also on paper, this is 99% coverage over the sRGB spectrum. So that means you're going to get a good range of color representation on this screen. So all of the content I've watched, video editing I've done on this thing looks absolutely amazing, to be fair. Again, maybe not the most color accurate image. Definitely the LGs or the BenQs are way more accurate out of the box. However, this one, in terms of its color representation, deep blacks, the images look pristine and very crisp. So I was impressed about that. So another thing is that it is a 60 Hz display, but I've kind of noticed that bigger monitors in this size that are not specifically designed for gaming tend to cap out at about 60 Hz. So again, it's not something I was surprised about. In my use case scenario, it doesn't really bother me, but I know that quite a number of people who are looking to get this monitor may want it to be at least above 60. So if that's something that's a deal breaker for you, that's your cue right there. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't have any of the sync technologies. However, it does have game mode, and that does reduce the input lag. Now, speaking about the gaming mode, just hold that thought for a moment. Did I ever tell you how sleek this monitor does look? I know that most people who want to get this monitor, they'll be like,
you know, I like a big screen because I want to be doing some content creation. I want to improve my productivity.
Nah, bruh, stop the cap. You and everyone else, myself included, got this monitor because it looked too damn good, bruh. This monitor was the best looking monitor I'd seen at the time, hands down. This takes heavy inspiration from the Apple Studio displays, right? But make it unique to their thing. So I'll give them kudos for that. Now, going over the design, you'd notice it's very slim, and I think that was an impressive fit. It's not metal, so it's mostly plastic, so it does feel very light. It's almost just about as thick as the iPhone 13. It's just a little bit thicker than that. When we go over to the back, we can see the detached web camera, which we'll get into later on in this video. But then we also have the port situation. Now, this might be a little bit divisive. There are just 3 ports at the back. So you have 2 USB-C ports and a micro HDMI port. Thankfully, it does come with the cables that you can use for these ports, so you don't have to buy something weird. However, those cables are not really that long, especially the USB-C connector, but at least you have those cables out there. The display USB-C port will allow you to charge, you know, and display an image. So you can use like a 1 cable solution if you have like a MacBook Pro, I think up to 65 watts. The other one is more like a USB-C hub, so you can connect an SSD to it or like a hard disk that allows you to have a USB-C connector tip. However, one thing I'll note about the port situation is that it's only the computer that's plugged through the USB-C that would have access to the web camera. It might seem obvious to a lot of people, but it wasn't immediately obvious to me, so that's why I'm pointing that out. Now, it also does come in like 4 different colors. So I think green, pink, white, blue. I think depending on how your setup is, if you had like an accent color you wanted, at least you know you have like 4 options to pick from. Okay, just gonna cost you, I think, $50 extra, which I don't know why, but it is what it is. Now, coming back to the gaming mode on this, how do you activate it? You want to go to the remote and you press the home key. That's going to look like a house. Press that and then bring up a splash over menu. Scroll all the way to the bottom to where it says all settings. When you click on that, you'll see where it says game mode. When it comes to the response time options, just go with extreme. I mean, if you're going into gaming mode, I'm assuming that you want the best response time, right? You can also turn on game HDR. I think it just makes it a bit more saturated and contrasty. If you don't like the look, you can turn this yourself, if you're getting this monitor, you definitely want to have your own speakers. The monitor itself doesn't have an audio jack. If the speaker needs a wired connection, you'd have to plug that to either the laptop or the computer. And if for some reason your audio jacks were clogged up on there, then you're out of luck. It does have Bluetooth though, so you can use Bluetooth speakers, but that could introduce some lag, and depending on what you're using it for, that might be an issue. Now, does it have ghosting? There is a little bit there, but it's not like the worst thing. So in case you're not familiar with what ghosting is, they're like more after trails after the image has passed. So it could make the image look muddy and not as clear. Compared to like other monitors I've seen, it's not something that's too intrusive. Now, the HDR performance on this is also good. This can get up to 400 nits. My personal use case, if I'm not in HDR mode, I never go above 16 to 20 in terms of the brightness level. And you can go from 0 all the way to 50. Now, this also supports 10-bit color. I don't know why I use that much force to say that. Physical setup and assembly. This was a straightforward process. In about 15 minutes, you should be done. You just have the vertical stand assembly. So that's the bottom platform and the vertical stand. They're like 2 screws that are already pre-screwed in, but not fully. So once you clip it in, you screw them, and then that holds in nicely. Then you take the panel itself and hinge it onto the 2 clips. They make that nice, satisfying sound to show that it's clipped in. You're good to go. I had mine set up in like 10 minutes. Now let's talk about the webcam on this thing. Now, the way this works is it has a very strong magnet and there's a connector tip. So once you get it close, it snaps up, and it's very strong, so you don't need to worry about it falling off. The webcam itself, you can adjust it to angle it up or you can angle it down. You have different options in making sure the webcam captures your face. The camera quality of the webcam is okay. I think it's above average based off of most webcams I've seen on monitors, or like even the external ones you may buy. I think the quality does hold up. Now let's talk about smart TV features. With most conventional monitors, you have to press the menu at the back or at the side, which can be a little bit awkward. The interface doesn't always look intuitive, but with this, because it's a smart TV, you're going to feel at home going through the menu. And this wasn't something I expected to really like at the start, but I would much rather prefer controlling the menu system, going through whatever I want to do with the remote than having to reach for the back all the time. Great thing is that the remote is rechargeable, so I really appreciate that, because that means you don't have to be buying batteries all the time. You can just plug this through a USB-C cable. It also shows you that it's charging at the top right to give an indicator. Whenever it's fully charged, it'll let you know as well. Because it's a smart TV, you have access to things like YouTube, Netflix, Amazon Prime, all of the general streaming apps. You can install them on here. And this also has something called the gaming hub. I think this is unique to Samsung TVs for the most part. This will allow you to gain access to most game streaming services, which is pretty interesting. You can actually connect your controller. So if you have like an Xbox or a PS5 controller, you can connect to this through Bluetooth. And if let's say you have an NVIDIA GeForce service, you can just log in here and use that. If you get the Game Pass Ultimate subscription, which is like $16.99 Canadian, which will come to like pretty much free in the US, you know, with that subscription, you'll be able to stream your games directly to this, and with your controller, you're good to go. Now let's talk about some of the things that I absolutely don't like. Now, remember the menu? From time to time, the menu can hang. It can be unresponsive. There's nothing you can do. You just need to turn off the monitor and turn it back on. I mean, from the wall, like unplug it and plug it back on. This has happened to me at least, I'd say, since I've got the monitor to now, maybe 6 times. The other thing that is a no on this is the sound. The speakers on this monitor just is a no-no. Just forget about it. The sound is very teeny. Low bass is trash. You definitely want to get speakers if you're using this. So, in conclusion, for all the features you get with this, is it worth the price at $899? And will I recommend this monitor to someone? I wouldn't directly recommend this monitor. For 2/3 that price, you can get any of the LGs. LGs will have better color accuracy out of the box, better productivity features in terms of multi-display and connecting multiple devices at the same time. It has better port selection. You can mount your monitor arm directly to it. It's 4K as well. It literally has all of the main features that someone wanted to get a display for 2/3 the price, or even sometimes half the price. Or you can even get an ultra-wide display, and it's not going to be up to that $899. What I'm trying to say is that there are a good amount of monitors you can get for 2/3 the price and get all of the main features that you would typically need, and an audio jack as well. But this is a monitor that every day when you look at it, when you turn it on, when you use it, you're like, wow, this thing does look good. So it kind of like just inspires you to want to do more. By far, the most intriguing and drawing feature of this monitor is its design, hands down. There's some nice features on there, like the menu system, the remote, and the smart TV features will be what will win people who decide to get this monitor. Knowing what I know now, would I have still gone ahead to get it? Probably yes. I definitely would have still got it. Do I recommend it? Like, go ahead and buy it, spend $8.99 to get it? No, I wouldn't recommend it that way, because I know there are a lot of good options. This video has been helpful. I really appreciate your time here watching. Do be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. There'll be more tech review videos like this. So until the next one, have a great time.